Primary sources are sort of the original sources, or sources that are close enough from the time period of events that somebody has lived through.
Dear wife, I have nothing good or bad to write you. I am well and would rather be at home tonight than any other place. I am sorry to think you can never be well, or that you will always be sick when I am away from home. I can't sleep when I think you are sick.
Priority are things like people wrote right in the moment, so letters, diary entries. They aren't filtering them, obviously, for thinking how this might look later. Letters and sort of archived material is probably the most helpful, just because it's private correspondence usually, or it's private discussions between people, so you get the interior thoughts that they have or what they think about a certain problem at the time.
We just heard that they had a fight at the Potomac, and our forces whipped them, and our General McClellan was mortally wounded.
I hope this will not last much longer at this rate. It is true that we rejoice in a victory, but to the same, it is a hard-fought one. Hundreds of them are slouching on the field of battle where they made their last struggle for their country. It is true that their trials are over, but let us look at the suffering of their wives and children.
There have been no serious accidents with the exception of one old woman who was attacked by an epileptic with homicidal tendencies previous to an epileptic convulsion. The eye of the old woman was seriously injured, the lower lid being torn and lacerated, the cut extending through the lower lid and into the eyeball. However, the parts have healed nicely and the eye is almost well, with slight disfigurement.
Oral histories, and talking to people, that gives you kind of a wider perspective on people's lived experience. It also gives you a different thing that you don't just get in a textual source. If you have audio, you can hear the way someone talks. You can kind of hear the way they talk about somebody else. So if they're not happy about something, you can learn something there, as opposed to a source where you're just reading and you're like, oh, okay, the transcript, it sounds a little critical, but then when they're talking, you can see their facial expressions.
I came to Weston Hospital as a student in the nursing program from WVU Tech in Montgomery. This was in 1974. It was part of our learning experience. We had to spend a week in a mental institution, and we came to Weston. We met, several of the nurses that worked there, and they took us through. It was amazing that all the doors were double locked. When you went through each department, you locked once on the outside, and then there was another lock, and they had the big key ring with all the keys on it you see on TV. Well, they had one. And the patients sort of just stared at you like you were the oddity. The ones we dealt with were friendly. They were kind of dazed at times. Most of them were just over-medicated. And they'd walk up to you and kind of invade your space, like right up in your face, and ask you who you were and what were you doing there, and did you want to talk to them, or did you bring them anything, and that type of thing. We were afraid. Like when we left in the evenings, it was eerie. It seemed like, everybody said, did you hear that sound? Everybody kind of magnified things to make it look scary. It was sad to think that these people, they were just there.
Other types of primary sources that can also be helpful, particularly in this more modern period, are photographs. The variety of photos they have about sort of coal camp life in the state and the different ways that looks in different parts, I think is always fascinating to, regardless of the business-labor divides people may have on the subject, if they look at the way people lived and the way towns are constructed, they often come away with some interesting points about, this is a very, it's not the best looking setup, but it's also a place where there hadn't been a community previously. You can get a sense about just people's everyday life, other than the one thing that maybe we're focused on, which is this kind of work labor side of things. It's their people. What is it? We get pictures of them, the kids playing out in the dirt road tells us something about, hey, I used to do that. Kids 100 years ago, they're doing the same thing. Being able to show different images of places or historical events, just old pictures, it adds a different connection to the past than just reading about it or somebody just talking about it.